Hello SLAPAFISH community, welcome back to another Vortex Console. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the changes that is happening to the Strv S1 103B line. And those changes are happening from the tier 4 all the way up to the tier 10. So that means the tier 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, and the 10 are getting changed. Mainly all buffs. And also, don't forget about the Strv S1, which is the tier 8 premium tank destroyer. It's also getting a buff. So yeah, let's go over that changes. So also, if you don't know, this is a line that has like special mechanics. It's the siege mode. Basically, siege mode, the Swedish Tank Destroyers happens to the 8, the 9, the 10, and the premium tank destroyer. Basically, crash course of the siege mode. Siege mode. 2 modes. Drive mode, siege mode. Drive, you drive in. You have the better mobility. Your mobility is better in drive mode. When you switch to siege mode, your aim time, your accuracy, all your gun stats gets amazing, but you lose all your mobility. So basically, that's the difference between siege mode and drive mode. That only happens to the 8, the 9, the 10, and the premium. And we'll also have video chapters if you want to like skip around to what tank you want to see like buffed. Stats buffed. So let's just jump into it. Also, this tank line will be on track for a while. The line will be on track from September 28th to October the 12th. So yeah. And here's your discounts. Boom. So let's get into it. So let's start with the Strv S1 103B. So basically, it got a reload buff from 8 seconds to 7.6, which gave it a DPM from 2,925 to 3,077, and that is in siege mode. Also, when you're switching from siege mode, when you're going from drive mode to siege mode, it went from 2 seconds to 1 second. And when you're in siege mode and going to drive mode, it went from 1.3 to 1 second. So basically, both modes, switching through both modes, it's only 1 second now, which is nice. Now, other is moving camo and still concealment. Basically, very, very minimum changes. 0.242 to a 0.245. You won't really see the difference, but it's still a buff to the camo. Like, minuscule. Next, on to the Strv S1 103O, which is the tier 9. Here's the stock gun. The stock gun got a reload buff. And yeah. Also, these are in siege mode, if you're wondering. The final gun got a reload buff also. And it also got an accuracy buff from 0.3 to 0.28. And that's in siege mode. Also, while you're in siege mode for chassis 1 and chassis 2, so that's basically your stock tracks and your upgraded tracks. Dispersion during whole rotation went from 0.1 to 0.01. So yeah, also, yeah, boom, onto the tier 8, which is the UDES 03. And this also has the siege mode. So, and the final gun, for your final gun, it got buffed when it's not in siege mode. Basically, it got a reload buff from 11.7 to a 10. Who fires in drive mode? Exactly. So let's just move on to the siege mode. The siege mode gun got a reload buff from a 10.3 to a 10 second. Not bad. Then the other gun, which is the stock gun, the 9cm gun, and not in siege mode, when you're in drive mode, got a reload buff from a 6.3 to a 5.7. Now let's talk about the siege mode. Entering siege mode from a 2.2 seconds to a 1.6 seconds. Enter drive mode, went from 2 seconds to 1.6, so basically switching between the modes went to 1.6 seconds from 2 seconds. Also, when you're in siege mode, now you go 10 kilometers, reverse and forward speed. So basically, when you're in Siege mode, that's double the amount of speed you'll have in the UDES, which is really nice. So, same thing as the tier 9, I think it was. While you're in siege mode, the dispersion during whole rotation went to absolutely nothing, went from 0.2 to 0.01. And same thing for the while you're in dry mode, or non-siege mode. Went from 0.2 to 0.1. Not as big as the and siege mode, because siege mode is all about the gun. So let's go to the IKV-90, which is the tier 7 tank. This tank for its final gun got a reload buff from a 7.4 to a 6.8. Basically, the DPM went from 1,946 DPM to 2,117. It also got an aim time buff at 2.3 to a 1.8, and accuracy at 0.36 to 0.33. The stock gun also got buffed. It got a reload buff from an 8 second to a 7 second, and the accuracy got buffed from 0.4 to 0.35. Now we move on to the IKV-65 Alt 2, which is the tier 6 tank destroyer. For its final gun, it only got a reload buff from a 9.7 to a 8.2. And the stock gun also got a reload buff from a 9.1 to a 8.2. Now we move on to the tier 5, which is the IKV-103 gun. Basically, the final gun got an accuracy buff at 0.42 to a 0.4. And the stock gun got a accuracy buff also from 0.54 to 0.48. Now we move on to the Strv S1 M43, which only got a penetration buff on its stock gun from 63mm to 97mm. Now, let's move on to the next tank, which is the final tank, which is the tier 8 premium Swedish Tank Destroyer. In the siege mode, you went from entering siege mode, you went from 2 seconds to 1.6 seconds. Your accuracy got a buff at 0.3 to 0.28 in siege mode. Remember, these are all in siege mode. And now, for your forward speed and reverse speed, went from an 8 to a 10 second. So, more mobility in your siege mode. Faster to get away. So, yeah, that's it. Quick crash course of the buffs and nerfs to the Swedish Tank Destroyers. Awesome. If you like this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, also remember SLAPAFISH, because why would you not? And peace out. See ya.